Hello. Today I'm going to talk about the first time I actually really started using dating apps and how some of those crazy encounters went. I'll preface it by saying I was a bit naive, and even though I did sort of listen to some general advice, I also hadn't really experienced a lot of the general public because I had been so sheltered and just wrapped up in church people, missionary type people. So some of this stuff probably was very basic for anybody who was allowed to date in high school and kind of experience anything throughout college. But for me, it was like starting fresh. I didn't really know anything. So I've got a jasmine blossom, which I've never had a jasmine tea, I don't think. I don't know. We'll see. It smells good. So I had been doing therapy, specifically the therapist that I was using during my divorce. I continued seeing her so that I would have some help during the transition, going from divorce to single and potentially dating again and maybe finding someone to marry, right? Or cohabitate with, or whatever I decided that would be. And she had me spend some time deciding what I was looking for, what kind of person I wanted to be with, what kind of dynamic of the relationship I wanted it to be. And she really encouraged me to just start meeting people and to just say yes to drinks and dinner and practice having conversations with people and practice kind of going. She likened it to trying to buy a house. You don't necessarily buy the first house that you look at, but you do look at things that you wouldn't necessarily feel like would be a good fit just because you really don't know what you're looking for and you don't know how things are going to fit. So she encouraged me to go on those simple dates and meet people and just be really honest about where I was at. I did actually find a lot of men who were in the same boat. They'd been married for a really long time. They didn't know how to date either. They were happy to keep it simple and keep boundaries in place, but just have dinner with someone or go to the movies with someone or go to coffee or kind of get used to having conversations with people again. So that actually wound up being a pretty easy thing for me to navigate. Of course, there were those situations in there where people were lying about what their intentions were, and I had to get myself out of them pretty quickly. But this guy, I didn't meet on a dating app, but I was in this mindset of say yes to coffee, right? Meet anybody for coffee. Let them know that you're fresh off a divorce. You don't really know what you're looking for, but you're happy to meet for coffee and see if it's worth pursuing a connection. And so this guy actually stopped me at the mall. I was there buying shoes for something, and he stopped me and he's like, oh my gosh, I need to get your number. I need to take you out. So I was like, sure, yeah, we can go out. I met him at his apartment. We were planning to meet in his parking lot and then travel from there. The original plan was for me to follow him, and then we would kind of go around Seattle, which I felt okay with. But then when we got to the apartment, he was like, maybe we should just take one car. And I was feeling uncomfortable. I'll be honest. I had not yet listened to that inner voice that says, maybe don't do this. And I did voice my concerns, but he was very offended that I would think that he would be someone that I should be concerned about going in a car with. And now, 6 years later, that would be my cue that this guy is not for me, and I'm just going to take myself out to dinner. Because to be quite frank, any man who discounts a woman's concern of safety is not worth your time. Vice versa too. I mean, if a man is feeling unsafe in a situation or unsure, the woman that he is with should listen to that, and they should have a real conversation about why that is and how everyone can feel comfortable. No one should be pushing themselves past those boundaries of safety, right? But I went with him. Thankfully, nothing bad happened, but it turned into a pretty crazy night. That was a good lesson for me. And from that point on, I never went in anybody's car unless I knew them well enough to feel comfortable and safe. And man, that was a crazy night. So the original plan was to just go have dinner. Okay, so I agree to get in his car reluctantly, and we talk, and the conversation's okay. We had a phone conversation before that, and we were able to hold a conversation, because that was another one of my kind of rules, was that I have a phone conversation before we meet in person, because I just want to make sure that we can actually talk to each other and not stare at each other like weirdos, because that's not a fun use of my time, or his, right? Sometimes people don't mesh. Even though I'm a great conversationalist, that's not true with everyone. So you have to have some connection point. So we had a good conversation, and we were supposed to go out and just have dinner, which I thought was pretty simple. He was going to take me somewhere in Seattle. Well, we drive into this parking lot at like a mini mart or something, and he's like, oh, I just got to pick up my friend really quick. And by this time I don't know, I think he lived in Bellevue or something, and we were driving to Seattle from there. And I lived in Granite Falls at the time. So there was a lot going on there that is now a red flag and runaway to me. But I was new to this, and I was trying to experience new things, right? So we stop at the parking lot, and his buddy gets in the back seat, and he's like, we're actually going to go to this bar. They have food there, and I'll get you food if you're hungry, but we're going to go to this bar. And my friend said he wanted to come, and I was like, okay, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of stuck with just going along with it and having a good time at this point. Wow, I didn't think this story was going to be so long, because it's so stupid and silly. But we're at 6 minutes already. I'll try to hurry. So when that was happening, I noticed in his glove compartment that he had a couple different wallets in there, and he was choosing an ID of who he wanted to be that day. I also noticed when he was talking to his friend about something before we went into the bar, like while we were like acquiring our things from the car to decide what to take with us, he was showing his friend something on Facebook, and it was a different name than what I knew him as on what he had given me, like to check out his Facebook. So I was like, what the heck is going on? So right then I knew that I was just going to be in compliance phase and just try to have a good time and get out of this without anything going super wrong. The night was super weird. The bar was okay, but he was getting up every 10 to 15 minutes and walking away for a few minutes and then coming back. The conversation was very stale. I talked with the bartender more than I talked with my date. Several men came up and asked for my number, but I felt like I was with a certain person and I should stay with that person, so I, kind of passed them off a little bit. And it was just super weird. He's just kept disappearing all night, talking to all these different people. I was so bored, honestly. Like, I had a drink and that was fine. And then he suggested we go to a salsa club, which I thought was great. I love salsa. And I was like, yes, let's go dance. And finally, we can do something fun. And he took me to the salsa club, and he did the same stuff at the salsa club. Dance, like, and I was offered to dance, by a lot of people. But again, I was with someone and I was feeling uncomfortable. So I didn't want to upset him by going to dance with someone else or having him leave me there, because then I wouldn't have a way home, right? So I just kind of sat in the corner and waited for him to do whatever he was doing. He kept telling me how beautiful I was and how great it was that I looked so innocent and how he was having this nice time. And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? So we get to the end of the date and he brings me back home, and honestly, he's hanging out with his buddy more than he's hanging out with me, and they keep disappearing separately and sometimes together. It was just so weird. So I get home and I'm telling my cousin and my friends about this, and they're like, I'm pretty sure that guy was dealing and he was just using you as like a cover so that it looked like he was there on a date, right? Which I'll never know for sure. But he texted me that night and asked if I wanted to go out again, and I was like, honestly, thank you for taking me out, thank you for the drinks, but I just didn't feel like we had enough in common to see each other again, so I'm going to wish you well. And he unleashed a tirade of nonsense, the likes of which I will probably never hear again. But he was highly offended that I didn't feel like we had enough in common. And he was making all these ridiculous accusations about me being a boring person and me being this and me being that and not doing this and not doing that. And I was just like, well, dude, I guess you kind of just confirmed that we're not a good match. So maybe best of luck to you. And I wasn't trying to offend you. I was just telling you that we're not a match. But I definitely learned you should not be going in a car with anybody that you don't know. And I have stuck to that rule ever since. And I think everyone should follow it.